Welcome back to another episode of this untitled podcast where we get a name if Whitewater runs it back in the national tournament. I'm Reed Rosales, joined by Will Miner of D3 Region 10 Baseball. And well, we had a couple conference tournaments happen. Some finished, some were delayed due to weather and finished the day we're recording this, which is May 4th. May the 4th be with you. May the
Yep.
4th be with a couple teams. Shout out to Johns Hopkins and Rowan, who we won't be talking about extensively, but they also locked up spots in the NCAA tournament by winning the Centennial and the NJAC respectively. But man, well, it was an exciting weekend of baseball. Good ball all around.
Yeah, it was really fun to see. I actually was out, got to see two games against at Rhodes, where they dropped two games to Barry, and I am never allowed back on Rhodes campus after they just got swept by Barry when I visited. So I have a permanent ban there, but baseball all around, fun to see some baseball in person.
So now that NPI is being updated daily, just want to do a cursory glance over our current situation. So the biggest thing for me is that Bridgewater has dropped out of the top eight by one spot. They're number nine. Of course, we'll get into the preview of the final set at the ODAC, which might as well be a half of the College World Series with where the teams are ranked NPI wise, but they can easily jump back in. Salisbury, who, man, midway through the season, I was like, I don't know what they're kind of just treading water. They're number eight, which
Yeah.
is they have really surged in these past couple of weeks. Everyone
hmm
else is kind of who I was expecting to be here. Whitewater being at four, they've kind of snuck under the radar a little bit too. Belhaven is 14. Whether they stay 14 after they kind of got stomped by Piedmont today is to be seen. Yeah, what the biggest thing is, will there
hmm
be an easy one seed to get to a Region 10 regional is my main concern for NPI. I don't know if there's anything you want to call out, Will.
Yeah, I think the most realistic expectation is there's probably a hypothetical where if like Winburg doesn't win their tournament and they drop, they just might call ETBU a one seed because they're at 19, they're three spots away. But like we've kind of talked at offline, like what one seed are they flying? I mean, fly Russell Sage down to Texas or Cali, make an interesting one seed. But overall, I think the committee is just going to say, "Hey, ETBU, you're close enough to a one seed. We're going to give you a one seed, and sorry, one of these other one seeds you're going to be considered a two seed, which would kind of suck, but we'll see what ends up happening."
It's definitely interesting. I'm trying to think. I'm just thinking back. The committee for every sport has been pretty good at keeping one
Yeah.
seeds. I was surprised when Huntington came into that ETBU regional last year because there was not a good four seed. But Huntington was a flight, I'm pretty
Yep.
sure. They're either a flight or they were
Yep.
right on the 500-mile mark. I can't quite remember. I'm pretty sure they were a flight, but I was shocked to see them there. But they made
Yep.
it work somehow. We'll see. The committee, they're going to have a quick turnaround as they always do from when these
Yep.
conference tournaments wrap up. And also, right now, for all you bubble teams, the first team out right now is St. John Fisher at NPI 52, and last team in is Gettysburg. All right, as it stands, if there are no bubble bursters, they'll be in. In terms of bubble bursting opportunities last week, there were a couple. William Patterson in the NJAC had the opportunity to burst someone's bubble, but they got dominated by Rowan in both ends of the championship doubleheader. Ursinus, I think, was a bubble bursting opportunity. Ursinus would have jumped up way, way high if they beat Johns Hopkins twice, but
Yep.
they might still have not quite been in the bubble. So they could have potentially been a
Yeah.
bubble burster, but they didn't win. Johns Hopkins wins their fourth Centennial title in a row.
hmm
And Hardin Simmons had the opportunity to be a bubble burster if they would have beaten
hmm
ETBU twice, but ETBU hit four bombs in the championship game to
One too short.
to take the ASC once again. ETBU winning the ASC, surprising to nobody. We'll get into that a little more in just a moment. Well, I want to quickly fly through the USA South, and I'll fly through the ODAC as well because these are still ongoing conference tournaments.
Yep.
The USA South takes place in two pods. We had the Greensboro pod and the Pfeiffer pod. They have three teams each, and they run a very odd Swiss format for these three-team pods. In the Greensboro pod, NC Wesleyan bowed out in two games as William Peace got to Colby Lewis, their ace, for 3 runs, and they tacked on two to win that game 5-3. NC Wesleyan would lose to Greensboro, getting overwhelmed by a strong Pride offense 11-5. And then the next day, William Peace hammers Greensboro 13-3. It was not a close game at all. And then Greensboro responds with a 1-run win to force a decisive game 3 on Sunday. And William Peace, I think the MVPs for them is the entire pitching staff. This was a pitching staff for William Peace that has an ERA of 6.63, and they didn't allow over 5 runs in any of these games. They swung way above their weight class, and especially in this last game, Greensboro only got 4 hits. One of them was a 3-run bomb, and that's why it was a 5-3 final score. But to limit the best offense in your conference to just 4 hits, that's
Pretty legit.
pretty impressive. So they punched their ticket to the final site. And then in the Pfeiffer pod, we got to see the weirdness of the Swiss format come into effect as we had the rock, paper, scissors moment of Southern Virginia beat Methodist. Methodist then beat Pfeiffer, and then Pfeiffer beat Southern Virginia. Now, Pfeiffer needed a walk-off 3-run bomb to beat Southern Virginia. So we were close to having a 5 seed versus 6 seed for a championship and a trip to the NCAA tournament. But no, when the bracket got reset, Southern Virginia did eliminate the reigning champs Methodist, but Pfeiffer overwhelmed them in the decisive third game 7-3. Southern Virginia just simply ran out of pitching near the end.
Yep.
Which means it will be Pfeiffer versus William Peace in a 3-game series to decide the USA South Championship. Pfeiffer swept the series. It's going to be interesting because I was not expecting the Pacers to get out of that Greensboro pod. I thought Greensboro was just going to win both games that they needed to play, and that would be that. But no, Pacers versus Pfeiffer. And Pfeiffer has never won the USA South, I believe. I don't know if William Peace has either, so we might get a new team into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. Obviously, the goal of college baseball is to make the NCAA tournament. Every coach you talk to across the country, they want to make it there. They want to make their program known, make some noise. And so if it is the first time for one of these programs, that's awesome. Either way, first time, that'd be amazing to see.
A quick shout out to, I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Seth Sadeba. It's SV, so I'm going to silence the V. No, that's right. Who's now a qualified pitcher with a 1.76 ERA over 46 innings, which is by far and away the best ERA in the USA South now that he's qualified. He was key into winning that last game against Greensboro. He pitched a season high 5 innings in that game because all of his appearances are out of the bullpen. He has not made a start this year. So super impressive. You know, Pacers, they're hot right now.
Yeah.
You can beat Greensboro, you can beat Pfeiffer. So we'll see what happens. If the Pacers do win, they will have a losing record going into the NCAA tournament, which is we usually get one of those teams per year. But the difference this time is that they will not be bursting anyone's bubble because if Pfeiffer loses this, they will not be in the NCAA tournament. So I guess we can move on to the ODAC and get through the ODAC really quick. ODAC, these opening series for the ODAC usually aren't too interesting, to be honest. Lynchburg stomped Roanoke twice in run rule games. It wasn't very pretty. Lynchburg's offense looked on point. Roanoke, they gave it their best try, which is all we can really ask for when you're playing a team like Lynchburg in your first round matchup. But Lynchburg took care of business there. Randolph-Macon took care of business against Virginia Wesleyan. They beat them 14-4 in game 1 and then 10-4 in game 2. Pretty easy wins for Randolph-Macon to get as they cruise on to the final site. Shenandoah beat Hampton-Sydney convincingly 10-1. And then, like what happened last time they played each other, Hampton-Sydney gave them all they could handle in game 2. In fact, Will, heading into the 7th inning, Hampton City was up 9-4, but after the seventh inning stretch, Shenandoah scored 8 runs in the bottom of the seventh to take the game 12-9.
8 rounds. Not too shabby.
That got them the series sweep and Shenandoah trip to the final site. And then you get Bridgewater and Washington and Lee. This was the most interesting series out of the three. Their first win was in 12 innings. They walked off Washington and Lee in 12 innings in game one. This was a 12th inning where Washington and Lee had scored 2 runs in the top of the 12th. So
Yep.
Bridgewater was kind of had not a lot of hope left, but they rallied back and walked it off. Then Washington and Lee comes and wins game two, 6-2. And then final game, Bridgewater won it convincingly 10-6. They scored early on. They scored a lot early on and just held the lead. So it was all chalk in the ODAC. That's usually how these 3 game
Yep.
series go.
Honestly, want to start with the SCAC. This was new tournament format for them this year with the 6 teams. So 1 and 2 had a bye. Out of the get go, this one was pretty interesting. I mean, Concordia, Texas beat Centenary 4-3 in a tight game. I want to say it was in the 5th inning. Centenary had runners on third and second. I'm watching this game at the airport, about to fly out east, and ground ball hit to the third baseman, no outs. Runner on third goes home instead of staying. Easy play at the plate, and I literally said out loud, that is going to be the difference of the game right there. Next batter grounds into a 6-4-3 double play, ends the inning, ends the perfect momentum shift for Centenary. So that started off hot. As you go through the bracket, McMurray ended up upsetting TLU in the first game, 5-4 tight game. And then really the next story of this tournament is Concordia, Texas. They win 17-4 against the 2 seed Laterno, 13-3 against McMurray. They rule them in 7 innings. And then in the championship game, win 10-5 against the Yellow Jackets. And at the end of the day, their offense was just moving on all gears, but also their pitching. I mean, their bullpen is very legit. If you go through the numbers, I could pull them up real quick, but I know Chase North is probably one of the best relief pitchers in the nation. Their pitching was just on fire this weekend. They only have one guy with qualified innings, but you look at it, Jake Runzels has a 1.95 with 19 appearances. Chase North with a 2.55 and 12 appearances. Gavin Voth, 3.5 and 14 appearances with 5 starts. Thomas Greenless, 3.52, 11 appearances, 5 starts. Eric Glenwickle, 3.76, 12 appearances, 2 starts. This team is really good. They're pitching at a 4.96, but really I just listed off 5 guys who don't really start who would be some of the best relievers on most teams. So you're looking at this team, don't sleep on the NATOs. I mean, they're a team that can be really good. I mean, EJ Sanchez called me out again because back in like 2023, 2024, I think it was in 24, I was like, ETBU is just going to roll through the ASC, and EJ called me out then. They made it at large last year, and look at the Tornadoes again this year. End up getting to their 3rd NCAA tournament appearance in a row, which is amazing to see from a program.
Yeah, and other than that game against Centenary, it didn't look like Concordia was ever going to lose any of their other games they played in this tournament.
I even think if like TLU pulled out the game against McMurray, I think Concordia would have just rolled them offensively. Yeah, they just looked unstoppable at the play. I mean, Laterno hit 1 million home runs this year, and that is a young team. So next year, I would not be surprised if the Yellow Jackets are in the conversation, and we might have TLU, Yellow Jackets, and Concordia, all 3 young teams that are really good next year out of the conference. And obviously, McMurray has crazy young pitching. So this could be a really fun conference to watch next year. But as it stands right now, Concordia, Texas is the only team going to the tournament. We'll see if something crazy happens and MPI does some funky stuff. But for now, that is that. And then out of the the ASC, we obviously teased this earlier. ETBU just kind of ran the table in this conference. What was very fun, I will say, is that ETBU Mary Hardin Baylor game in the 1-0. That was a back and forth game where ETBU, I want to say, won 5-4, 6-5. It was a 1-run game. very intensive. It was like Mary Hardin Baylor was up. I want to say 3-0. They have Alex Hill on the mound. They're thinking, "Yep, we're winning this," and just out of nowhere, ETBU scores two, and then there's two crazy back-to-back plays where outfielder makes a catch, but then drops the ball, 2-run score on a sac fly. And then next play, line drive single up the middle, bounces off the second baseman, but the umpire dodged it, bounces up in there, shortstop catches it, throws to the first, doesn't get the out. Always see something new in baseball. That was a great game. But really wanted to shout out Hard Cinnamons because, I mean, their offense put it together. They put in some work. Generally think like if that team had a little bit better pitching, they would have made a lot of noise and potentially would have double dipped ETBU. But for now, ETBU back to back champs, and it'll be their I want to say their fourth time in a row heading to the NCAA tournament because I think they got an at large in 24 when they didn't win it. Because 23 they went to the World Series. I think 24 they got at large, and then they've won it the last 2 years. So I want to say it's their fourth year in a row heading to the tournament.
And Hardin Simmons in that final game, they took the
Yeah,
lead. They started out with the scoring.
yeah,
Yeah, it kind of feels like the script's written the same every year for ETBU at this point. ETBU's game to lose was that UMHB game because I think UMHB they were cooking with gas, but
yep,
sometimes it's just a couple of weird plays that cost you
yeah.
in baseball.
Yeah, that 2-run sacrifice fly is definitely going to haunt Hardin Baylor for a long time until at least next year.
Moving on to one of the conference championships that finished up today, the Collegiate Conference of the South. Piedmont won this conference and they won it pretty convincingly. They got pushed by Asbury. Asbury was a
Mm-hmm.
team that in game one, under the watch of their incredibly impressive ace, Ryan Yates, beat Piedmont 11-1. They run ruled them in the regular season when he got on the mound the first time as the Piedmont bats kind of flailed around. This time, Ryan Yates does just as well, but he doesn't get the run support as Piedmont's Andrew Miserly strikes out 11 Asbury Eagles, goes 8 innings, and allows only 2 runs. Yates allows 2 earned runs, but 3 runs come across the plate as an error lets 1 unearned run come across. So Piedmont wins that game 3-2, and then they just kind of cruise by everyone else. They eliminate Huntingdon 9-4. They beat Maryville 9-5, and then they just stomp Belhaven 14 to
Yep.
4. There was no question that Piedmont was going to win that championship. And other than the opening round upset of LaGrange over Belhaven, it was surprisingly chalky. Everyone got eliminated pretty much where you expected them to get eliminated.
Yep.
Asbury went first, Huntingdon went next, LaGrange. And then when we entered the final day, we're in a situation where all three of the teams that were left are making the tournament no matter what,
Yep.
basically. So it doesn't matter from an NPI perspective, but
Yep.
obviously you want to win your conference tournament. Is a point of pride.
Yeah, and this is a conference where if you're a team and you are in a regional and you see a team from the CCS get put in your regional this year, you better watch out because whereas Maryville, Piedmont, or Belhaven, those are three teams who have been really good at different times of the year, beating really good teams. I mean, Belhaven and Maryville both swept ETBU, who ETBU is really hot right now. They're on a, I want to say, 16 or 17 game heater. And you're looking at that and you're like, those two teams swept that team. You better watch out if you get a CCS team put in your bracket.
Maryville also beat Huntingdon only 3-2. It was a close
Yep.
game. I mean, pretty much all those opening round games were close, and then it goes into a depth of the pitching staff kind of battle for
Yep.
these later games. But yeah, great job by the CCS. They got it all in despite the weather
Yep.
really battering them. Oh man, them, the ASC, and the SCAC all basically didn't play at all on Friday due
Yep.
to weather. There was, if you look, I posted a couple pictures of radar on Twitter.
Yep.
It's like just rain everywhere. Of course, when you try to play postseason ball, that's when the weather comes in to
Of course.
rain on your parade, right?
But yeah, let's get into the conference tourney previews. Obviously, for the USA South, you said it already, but I mean, reiterate it. Kind of go over how that looks.
Yeah, so it's Pfeiffer versus William Peace, best 2 out of 3 series. It's at Pfeiffer. So Pfeiffer will have home field advantage, and they'll also have
Mhm.
the home scoreboard advantage as well. William Peace, I mean, obviously they're not the favorites here, but they weren't the favorites in that Greensboro pod either.
Yep.
Any team at any time, any given week, in any conference, basically. That's the D3 motto, it seems. William Peace can definitely win this if they pitch out of their minds like they did at
Yep.
Greensboro. Because, I mean, when you're pitching that well, you can beat anybody. So good luck out there. Either way, it'll be a fun watch. And then just quickly going over the ODAC. Oh my goodness, Will. Like I said before, this is a College World Series caliber bracket
Yep.
at a final site for a conference tournament.
Yeah. You can't say that any better. You got three teams who are in the top 10 of NPI, in the top 10, literally the top 25 poll for pretty much the whole entire year. And to top it off, the number 4 team is number 20 in the MPI and has been in and out of the top 25 poll all year, in and out of the coaches' top 25 poll. You're telling me you have 4 teams in the top 20 all at one place? This is going to be electric. If you are not watching it, please do. Flow Sports, do not mess this up. Like, this is your best opportunity to get as many views as possible because this is a College World Series caliber regional. And what's crazy is you could end up with like Bridgewater and Randolph Macon in the championship and end up with like 4 teams in the top 10 and MPI from one conference, which I know we've seen in softball. Maybe not 4 teams from the same conference, but there was 5 teams in the top 10 from Region 10 last year or the year before. But I don't know if we've seen 4 teams in the top 10 from a singular conference.
Yeah, definitely not in baseball or softball. It's crazy. It really is. And the best part for all these teams is that whoever goes 0 and 2 in this bracket is still making the tournament, almost
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah, they're because MPI points couldn't a loss to an MPI team can't help your score, right? So it's like you're gonna only lose like a couple points. You're not gonna fall through the floor on these teams.
I think the real question is does Bridgewater win their way back into the top 8 and secure
Yes.
their place into not having to play one of either Lynchburg or Shenandoah in a potential
Yep.
super regional?
And they're honestly Bridgewater and Shenandoah are playing for that. Like they probably have the most to lose in this tournament. Lynchburg, you're going to be a top 8 team. Literally, no matter what, you could go 0 and 2. You're top 8 team. Shenandoah, you go 0 and 2, you drop out of the top 8. Bridgewater, you go 1 and 2 or 2 and 2, you probably drop out of that top 8. And Randolph Macon, you're just playing to play. Like you're going to make the tournament. This is good postseason baseball right here. This will be fireworks. Please watch. Flow Sports. Please work perfectly for a weekend.
Yeah, that Lynchburg starting rotation, it's just ridiculous, man. Like Tyler Caltrider into Logan Tapman
Yep.
is insane. Their pitching staff ERA is 3.14. It's like
Yep.
what holy bejesus, man. It yeah, it'll be awesome. It's Lynchburg versus Bridgewater and Shenandoah versus Randolph Macon for those opening games. Oh, it's going to be interesting. I think Lynchburg's still favorited just because it's Lynchburg
Yeah.
and Telenate.
Yeah.
I think Shenandoah is the only is a team that has shown that they can beat Lynchburg. Bridgewater did not beat Lynchburg in either of their regular season games. They did have a good lead on them
Yep. But
in
did
their
not come
second
through.
game. Yeah. We'll see. That's gonna be electric. Should be an all eyes looking at that one.
Kind of looking on as well. We got the NWC, and something interesting is Puget Sound and Lewis and Clark have graduation. Puget Sound is on Sundays, and Lewis and Clark is on Saturdays. So the college, the conference opted to host a single elimination tournament rather than a double elimination. And Reed, I just want your thoughts on it first before I say anything.
It's unprecedented to change your format. A single elim format isn't unprecedented because the coast to coast we'll get
Yep.
into next has the same format, but to do it all in one day, that's
Yeah.
certainly something. The coast to coast didn't even do that. I don't think, or
No.
maybe they did when they had it when they were only 3 teams, but it it starts 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. We
Yep.
just say, oh,
Well, and it's just funny because like if you're Whitworth, you went 20-4 in conference, and you're telling me that like you could have one bad game, and now your MPI drops just enough that you're out. Like I'm absolutely shocked the conference decided to do that. In my opinion, yes, I understand these are student athletes, but you chose to have the tournament the week that two of the schools were having graduation. So hopefully, in my opinion, some better planning in the future, and this is a lesson, and not a this is what happens from here on out.
The I won't look at the Northwest Conference
Yeah, in the
NPI
standings.
table. Like
Yeah, I
I'm
mean you
trying to
have
think if Whitworth eats a loss here. If they go 1-1,
they have potential, especially considering like those teams will increase slightly their MPI by beating Whitworth. It is a potential because what is the line right now? You said it was
it is 52, 51,
so
somewhere around that
52 with
range.
so the MPI that came out today, 52 is St. John Fisher, 53 is Worcester, and Whitworth is sitting at 46. So 1-1, I honestly might do it for them. They might drop 4 or 5 spots and still get in, or even 0-1. But realistically, it's kind of insane. Still, I mean, you got Whitworth, Linfield, Puget Sound, and Lewis and Clark that'll be in this one. So who knows? Maybe we'll see a two-bid NWC because of the craziness, which would make it very interesting for the committee in that standpoint.
One thing I wanted to point out, I wasn't expecting, but looking at the stats for all these teams, I was surprised that nobody's hitting as a team over 300. I was a little shocked when I saw that because usually in a conference tournament, you're expecting one team to be just hitting the
Mm-hmm.
crap out of the ball, but that's not the case for anybody, it
Yeah.
seems.
Obviously, Whitworth is the favorite here, and they are only hitting 296 as a team. Obviously, they're a team that has hit a decent amount of bombs with 50. That's probably in the top 10 to top 20 in the nation. But I mean, you're looking at it and you're like, man, this is going to be interesting for sure. All in one day, 4 games.
With Northwest Conference Madness, I mean, anyone could feasibly win this,
Yeah.
but Whitworth is definitely the favorites. Also, I didn't
Yeah.
know Lewis and Clark had rebranded to the River Otters.
Yep, that happened this year. The alumni took a vote on it. So instead of the Lewis and Clark Pioneers, they are now the Lewis and Clark River Otters. The official Lewis and Clark athletics program didn't change it until like February or March. Um, Even though they were River Otters like all year, I don't think it actually got changed on social media accounts until like February or March.
Uh, I will say the logo, the River Otter logo looks very nice. So they did a good job there. If you're gonna rebrand cool and
Yeah.
don't rebrand lame. Single elimination, man. They, they, that's the real test. You don't even get. We're going back to high school baseball state
Yep.
championship
Yep.
style
Back
play.
to high school picture ace. But yeah, Reed, I don't even know how the Coast to Coast does their conference tournament. Obviously, they don't have an at-large bid at stake for this one, but kind of how does their conference tournament work?
All right, I was trying to figure out how they seeded this because it didn't make sense to me how this got seeded. You don't technically have conference games in the coast to coast
Yep.
in any other sport except for baseball, except also kind of not. It's weird. I just looked at the coast to coast site and it says championship seeding has been changed due to forecasted inclement weather. So they changed the seeding of the
Hmm.
tournament based on the weather. That I don't know if I've ever seen that before. That
Never heard of that. We're seeing a lot of firsts here, Reed. A lot of firsts here on today's podcast.
but you get four teams. You have Mary Washington, Salisbury, Christopher Newport, and Regent, who is a transitioning team into D3. It is Newport at Salisbury and Regent at Mary Washington. That Regent Mary Washington game. This isn't count for NPI because Regent's a
Yeah.
transitioning team. So for NPI, it's a who cares.
Yep.
Mary Washington, if they lose this game, doesn't take a hit at
Yeah.
all. And if they win, they also get nothing because you
Yep.
can't even get rid of one of your quote unquote bad wins in your NPI
Yep.
total because Regent just doesn't straight up doesn't count. That Salisbury Newport game, Newport might have to win that game to
Yep.
make it
I
into
was
the
about to
NCAA
say that.
tournament.
They're sitting at
They're
41 right now.
yeah,
So,
they're definitely bubble. You want to win that game rather than not. They split the regular season series in two really close games. I think
yep.
Newport won game one, 2-0, and Salisbury won game two, 2-1. It'll be in Salisbury's got a really good pitching staff. So
Yep.
I'm expecting a low scoring affair.
Salisbury's also playing for to be in the top 8. I think that's another thing we have to keep in mind here is both teams have stuff to lose here. It's not just like, oh, both are easily in. Salisbury could drop out of the top 8 and then have to face a Lynchburg round 2, right? Or in the supers, or their regional matches up with Lynchburg or Denison. And they're honestly playing for a lot here. So obviously you're going to see probably a lot happen in that game.
Okay, so officially, Mary Washington got the one seed because they were 3-1 in conference. The reason that confused me because Regent was technically 3-0 in conference because they played JWU Charlotte, who's also a transitioning team, and they 3-0'd them. I guess their games don't count. So that's how they decided their seeding, I guess. I don't know why they said it changed due to weather. That seems a
Yeah.
bit odd, but oh well. That's the coast to coast for you. So as to who's favored in the coast to coast, Salisbury is probably favored, I would say.
Mhm.
Although that Christopher Newport series was tight, I would say whoever wins that has the better chance to win. Mary Washington, they've improved a lot this year, though. So
Yeah.
don't count. Pretty much anyone can win. Obviously, if Regent wins, they can't go to the NCAA tournament yet. But
That'd
it
be
would be
hilarious.
surprising.
Please let it happen. Please let it happen.
That'd be the
Let
most
me
surprising outcome.
protest that they should be in. Our next one on this list is a doozy, the SCIAC tournament. You have CMS is 1, Pomona the 2, Redlands, who lost 80% of their team, as the 3 seed. Chapman is the 4, and Laverne is the 5. So on Wednesday this week, Chapman and Laverne play in the 4-5 game. Winner takes on CMS and makes it to the double elimination. Pomona and Redlands will then play. Sorry, on Thursday, CMS versus the winner of Chapman and Laverne. Then Pomona and Redlands will play, and then it is just standard double elimination from there. This one's going to be interesting. Obviously, CMS and Pomona are both in for MPI right now. Pomona at 32 and CMS at 33. So they're both well in right now. This could be interesting, and if there's no bubble bursters, the Sky could find a way to have 3 teams in the tournament when 2 or 3 weeks ago we were worried that it was only going to be an automatic qualifier. So very interested to see what happens with the tournament. Obviously, CMS is probably the favorite, but Pomona's been hot recently. And Redlands, man, they kind of came out of nowhere. I said very early in the season that Chapman was going to make the conference tournament again after not making it for a couple years. So glad to see they made it back into the conference tournament. So this one will be a doozy, but Reed, any thoughts? I mean, there's probably going to be a million home runs hit, as always, in the SCIAC tournament.
Yeah, this has Bubble Burster written all over it because Sky teams are really good at beating each other.
Yep.
It's Pomona Pitzer and Claremont do seem to be a tier above everyone else.
Yep.
So I would say greater than 50% chance one of them wins it.
Yeah.
CMS, they're just beating the crap out of the ball. You've got Alex Henderson, Max Pemberton, and Bryce Didrikson. They are
Yep.
all hitting over 1100 OPS. When you have two guys hitting over 1250 OPS, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, this team just has, we will hit the ball very hard. And not the fact that there's 3 guys with 1100 OPS is Dylan Martin and Carter Bennett also have over 1,000 OPS as well to add. And Ryder Gordon also has a 970, and Blaze Her also has a 945. This team, they're going to hit their way if they're going to do it. They're going to have to hit their way to win. Obviously, same with Pomona. I think they're 2 and 3 in home runs. ETBU might have caught up to them, but yeah, this is gonna be a slugfest. I think it's gonna be at APU since CMS won it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's hosted at Pomona because it's literally CMS and Pomona pretty much share a campus. So, it is at APU.
I want to say I thought Chapman has a pretty decent pitching staff, but unfortunately they're
Yep.
going to get completely gimped by having to play in that play-in game. That's
Yeah.
tough.
And we saw that
And
with Cal Lu last year where Redlands won the 4-5 game and Redlands was the 5 seed. And so it is definitely going to be one of those things where it's like you have a really good pitching staff, but it's like you're going to have to pitch your way into the double elimination and then find a way to go from there. I mean, they're pitching out 4.73 ERA, which is really good for that conference. I mean, Joshua Cantwell, New Rung, 11 appearances, 1.08 ERA, 2 saves through 25 inning pitch with 28 Ks. I mean, Matthew Kuramoto, 3.19 ERA in 10 appearances. Like, they have a pretty good bullpen. They have decent starters. I mean, Nick Molina's a dude. He's one of those two-way guys, third starter, 5.37 ERA and 12 appearances, but offensively is hitting 400. Sneaky All-American pick because he's doing it on both sides. 8 bombs. I mean, not a ton of RBIs, but hitting 400 while also having 60 innings pitched is a tip of the hat. Yeah.
and not to discount Pomona Pitzer on either side
Mm-hmm.
of the ball. I mean, Cooper
Yeah.
Berry has a 1374 OPS, which is even more ridiculous than anybody on CMS. Kai Gonzaga, Tanner DeGrazia, and Jack Gold all have over 1,000 OPS, over 1,100 OPS.
Yeah.
They're hitting out of their minds. And then on the pitching side, you've got Lucas Dennis with a 3.64 ERA. He's started 11 games. He's one of the starters. That's impressive, especially in this conference. 41 strikeouts for
Yeah.
54 innings.
And one guy you missed there offensively, Reed, he's played towards the end, so he's not even qualified. Hugh London or Landon, he's played in 24 games, 15 starts. He has a 1.243 OPS and it is hitting 431. Pretty sure he's been playing more towards the end of the year, if I remember right. So when you're looking at it, I mean, you got Hugh London, Kai Gonzaga, Jack Gold, Sammy Lee, and Tanner DeGrazia, all with 1,100 OPS or better. Like I said, just to start it off, this is going to be a slugfest of a weekend. Sorry, pitchers, but there's probably going to be a lot of balls over the fence between a few teams here.
Moving on to our last conference, SAA. Oh man, oh man, that was quite the weekend the SAA had. We're
I'm
heading
just
into the S.
laughing. I'm just laughing because the fact that Barry swept Rhodes and going into Trinity's first game, they knew that Rhodes had been swept, lost two, and were like, we just needed to win 2 games. And almost didn't win one.
uh,
Insane.
we're heading into this conference tournament where I would say there's no favorite in this conference tournament,
Nope.
which consists of Trinity, Texas, Rhodes, Berry, Sewanee, Center, and Oglethorpe.
Mm-hmm.
Literally any of these teams could win the championship, and
Yep.
I would not be that surprised. It's a 6 team double elim, kind of a classic format, except they reseed for those teams that have the bye. So the lowest seeded team will play Trinity, and the highest seeded team will play Rhodes, which means the most likely outcome is that Rhodes has to play Barry again in the conference tournament to
Dude,
start things off.
well, and you're looking at it, Barry is on a 7 game win streak. I don't think many people realize that they were 5-9 and kind of looking on that maybe being like not even making the conference tournament 2 weekends ago. They would have been 6-9 heading into the last 2 weekends of conference play and 1-6, I mean 1-7 straight, and they're now 12-9 in the 3 seeds. So
And not only that, both Barry and Center were like sitting in the 90s for NPI, and now they
Hmm.
are 58 and 59 respectively after their series
Yeah.
wins over Rhodes and Trinity respectively. It's the SAA like legitimately could it could be a one bid league, it could be two bids.
And it
I
could be three.
it could legitimately be 3-2. I don't know what's going to happen. This is the most unpredictable conference tournament you're going to see because no result will be too surprising. I
Yep.
mean, like Trinity's the one seed in this tournament, but they have not looked dominant in the SAA this year. And on
Yeah.
on the road, although they do get to play in Rome, in Georgia, where they did sweep Barry. They had a pretty impressive series over there where they won three close games. So maybe that magic
Is
returns.
is for their conference tournament, is it not determined by whoever won the conference, or is it kind of just rotating?
It used to be whoever won conference got to host, but since the addition of Trinity and Southwestern, they have moved to a rotating format
Mm.
because if Trinity did win, everyone would have to fly to Trinity to,
Yeah, it costs the conference a lot of money.
yeah. Well, with this, Oglethorpe can drive over to Barry, and I think Center's a drive to Barry as well,
Yeah,
and
instead of a
Sewanee
flight
is.
down to
Hmm.
Texas.
So that's the reasoning for them moving to this style of site selection. Who knows at this point? Rhodes has the best pitching staff with a 4.98 ERA. David Albert's really good. Ryan Fallman's really good. Trinity has not looked their classic Trinity self. They've got guys who can pitch, but if you look at their ERAs, it's very different from last year, where Trinity had one of the best pitching staffs in the country. Trinity can still hit the crap out of the ball, but they're not hitting the crap out of the ball like they kind of were last year.
Yep.
Impressive batting averages, but they got two guys over 1,000 OPS.
Yeah, I mean, this will be interesting. Now Barry's hitting the top of the conference in average. I mean, Rhodes has 52 bombs, though. I mean, honestly, looking at Rhodes, they were a team, even though they got swept, it's like you could see how that team is really good. And I watched them on their worst weekend. Like, wind was blowing in, and they just had good flyouts that are probably gone in most cases at their field if the wind isn't blowing in. So it's like, I can see how that team can be really good. So, I mean, 54 bombs is nothing to scoff at, or 52 either.
The slight correction, center is the best pitching staff ERA wise with a 4.3 ERA. It's
Yeah.
anybody's to win. Good luck to everyone out there. Who knows what'll happen? I'm sure being on the home side of the scoreboard will be very important in this tournament in particular, because you
Yeah.
definitely want to be the last guys up to bat and when you have
I
a hyper competitive tournament like this.
I'm gonna note something. Roads. People or teams are only 620. They they've had 42 stolen base attempts against them. They've caught 25. I'm gonna keep note of that because that's probably towards the best in the country as a team. Probably not a lot of stolen bases if you're playing roads in the tournament. Only, yeah, one stolen base attempt per game against them, and they're catching 30% of those. So,
Shout out to Corbin Martins for Rhodes, who broke the single season home runs record for them as a freshman. That guy is an incredibly special player, and everyone will do well to handle him with the softest of kids' gloves when pitching to him, because you don't want him taking you deep. That's
yep.
for sure.
Yeah, I think it'd be very interesting for them to get a neutral site, kind of like the SCAC does, and have that neutral site that's kind of centralized to all the schools. And it's really cool if you can go play at a minor league stadium. I mean, Bellhaven, that's their home stadium. So it's sick for them to go play for there all the time. And so I think it'd be really cool if this conference could find a way to get a neutral site, either in Georgia or in Alabama or somewhere that's kind of centralized to all these schools. Because I mean, they cover a lot of states and a lot of mileage. So yeah, it'd be kind of cool to see them get a neutral site. Moving on. forward.
Well, Will, for our knack update of the podcast, we headed into this week with SUNY Cobleskill in the lead for the conference. But Hudson, my dream team to host their conference tournament, did end up winning the conference. Hudson went out and they had to play the lowest team in the standings, UMaine Presque Isle, and they swept them in a four-game series. Meanwhile, Cobleskill split their four-game series against Leslie, which means that Hudson will be the one seed, Cobleskill the two, Thomas the three, and VTSU Linden the four. I'll be watching with great interest over what happens in Maine because, man, gotta love these conferences that are so isolated from everyone else.
And I'm just gonna look at their MPI stuff again. Hudson 223, so they've moved up like 60 spots in the last 2 weeks. SUNY Cobleskill still at like 270, Thomas 288, but VTSU 326. Can we get a 300 MPI team into the tournament? That's what I'm rooting for. Yeah, I think it would be crazy to have a 300 MPI team go to the tournament, get put in a one seed and upset the one seed in game one. That is my dream scenario for D3 baseball.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance.
I will say Hudson has won this conference every year since 2019. So they've been
Give me an upset.
We're calling the upset right now. Well, before we get into our challenges for this week, we can go over how we did last week. Last week on, I guess we'll call it Heads Up, make it more baseball related. Last week on Heads Up, I challenged Will to bombs away and asked him to take the over or under for how many home runs would be hit in this year's iteration of the ASC tournament. The over under being set at 16 because that's what they hit last year, minus the 5-4 play-in game that they had. And Will got so close to being right on the over pick, but
so close.
They tied their home runs, 16 home runs this year in the ASC tournament. The one game where they hit nothing was brutal. Day one was a little tough.
It was just funny to open the stream and seeing that red, white, and blue blowing dead into center and just realizing that it was probably over and I wasn't getting close. And then the Tigers decided to hit bombs after bombs. If we're counting Nolan, the catcher for ETBU, throwing the strikeout pitch over the left field wall, the overhit. But sadly, that does not count.
Unfortunate. It's really unfortunate for you. I thought you were going to get it because ETBU hitting 4 bombs in a game. I was kind of waiting for ETBU to have a game like that because they had been a little suspiciously quiet. I can't believe that they didn't hit a home run against Mary Hardin Baylor.
Yeah.
That was shocking to me. I was like, really?
I mean, Alex Hill on the mound, it's kind of like, okay. Mm-hmm. But Reed, I'm pretty sure I challenged you. Let's call it bowling strikes / SAA winner. And I'm pretty sure asked you what team was going to throw the most strikeouts this weekend. I can't remember if you said Trinity or Center.
So I did say Trinity.
Okay. And what was the outcome of that? I didn't double check. That's all.
So for the SAA winner pick, I picked Rhodes to win the SAA, but not only did Rhodes not win the SAA, they didn't win this week. It was very spoiled senior day for the Lynx over in Memphis. For the K's, I did pick Trinity. Trinity did not have the most strikeouts in that series. They struck out 20 Colonels, but the Colonels struck out 21 Tigers. But they were both outdone by the Sewanee Tigers, who struck out 22 Oglethorpe Stormy Petrels. Oglethorpe had 20 strikeouts in that series as well. But they were all outdone by the last minute by the Millsaps Majors, who struck out 26 Southwestern Pirates thanks to a 15 strikeout game 3 that I almost didn't check because Millsaps at that point was really far behind. I was like, Yeah, there's a chance. And then I checked and they had 15 strikeouts and they blew everyone else out of the water with 26 strikeouts.
I mean, I've heard all year about how Millsaps is one of the best pitching teams in the country and just hasn't done it offensively. So that's hilarious to see. That's how it ended up with a 15K game three.
And to round out the rest of that list, Southwestern struck out 17 Millsaps majors. Rhodes struck out 16 Berry Vikings, and Berry struck out 13 Rhodes Lynx. So that Rhodes Berry series was not a strikeout series,
No, it
it
was not.
seems. All right, for this week's challenge, Will, since this is likely coming out on Cinco de Mayo, I'm challenging you to the Cinco de Mayo challenge,
Okay.
where I need you to pick five different players that will have at least five of each of these five statistical categories throughout their conference tournaments in the SCIAC and the Northwest Conference. And
Okay.
I'm adding an addendum. You must pick a Northwest Conference player for at least one of these.
Okay. Before you even ask me the question, Alex Henderson and Kai Gonzaga are on the list. I don't even want to know. I'm putting those into before you even answer.
Let's see where you slot them in. So I need a player with 5 hits, a player with 5 runs, a player
Yeah.
with 5 RBI, a
Yeah.
player with 5 walks, and a player with 5 strikeout of batters.
They've K'd five pitchers
Yeah.
or five hitters. Okay.
Yes.
We're gonna go with 5 walks. This is an awesome one. You outdid yourself here.
I thought long and hard. I almost did innings pitch, but I thought that'd be too easy.
Yeah, there's going to
I,
be some guy who goes out and gets 2 starts. So we're going to go walks with Alex Henderson. And I'm going to make a caveat that's 5 intentional base on balls. That something happens where he's just in scoring, he's up to bat with runners on second and third with 1 out, and he gets walked a million times. So we're going to go walks for him. 5 hits, we're going to go Kyle Memory Mia from Whitworth. He's been on a heater, so we're gonna go 5 hits for him. Strikeouts, I'm also gonna choose an NWC guy. Matt Stancil Slofiki for Lewis and Clark. He has 63 Ks on the season. Runs scored, we're gonna go
yes.
Kai Gonzaga. And what was the fifth one?
RBI.
RBI. Yeah, we're actually gonna go. I shouted him out earlier on the podcast. We're gonna go. This is a scary pick because of how they only are guaranteed 1 game. But we're gonna go. Nick Molina from Chapman is gonna have 5 RBI.
So I think you also picked, yeah, 5 different schools as well.
Yep.
You
I
did.
wanted to go around.
You went the extra mile. The extra
Yeah. Cinco de Mayo
mile.
to Mayo at 5 p.m. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere here in the unnamed podcast.
So for the Cinco de Mayo challenge, Will is picking the following players to have 5 of the following statistical categories. He's picking Nick Molina of Chapman to have 5 RBI this weekend. He is picking Alex Henderson to draw 5 walks, intentional walks.
Yep,
And
intentional
that
walks. Bonus right there.
he's picking Kai Gonzaga of Pomona Pitzer to have 5 runs scored. He's going to come in to score 5 times. He is picking Kyle Mamarian of Whitworth to have 5 hits. And he is picking Matt Stanislavski of Lewis and Clark to strike out 5 batters. So that is your Cinco de Mayo challenge. Will, what do you got for me?
Honestly, I was on an airplane and I was just pondering along, listening to the D3 baseball podcast. And I'm listening to it, and they had set like, oh yeah, the line's this. And then it came out the line's really like 50 or 51 right now. The question is, there are 2 teams who posted that they are going to play each other this weekend after their conference tournament. Ramapo and Gettysburg scheduled a doubleheader for this week after their conference tournaments, and they are sitting at 49 and 50. Okay. There is a third team that is very close to them called Worcester, who did not make their conference tournament, who is sitting at 53. My question to you is which one or all of these three teams get into the conference or the NCAA tournament because either they get in because they play each other and win, or they sneak in because their NPI increases because teams they played win in their tournaments.
Oh my goodness. First of all, why I don't know why they're playing this. This is wild.
Well,
Ramapo
I
is more
think,
confusing.
yeah, I mean, it comes out that you're in the bubble by two spots and three spots, and then they're playing a double header. They might kick one of the others out.
And that's crazy because man, if you split this, I don't even know what it would even happen. So Worcester, they are the last team. They are one of the last teams out currently. They would have to jump St. John Fisher. Gettysburg is 56.119 NPI. Worcester is 55.861. A loss to Ramapo would hit them with a 42.23 NPI, and a Gettysburg loss is a 42.089 NPI, which might drop them low enough, conceivably. I'm doing mental math here. I think Ramapo generally is a better team than Gettysburg right now. I've been more impressed with what I've seen from Ramapo than from what I've seen from Gettysburg. You're really throwing me a curveball here. All the things I was expecting, this was definitely not it.
Yeah, something not even related to what we talked about today. I just want to throw you which one of these three teams.
I'm gonna take. I think Ramapo will sweep the Gettysburg Bullets and
And then
make.
get in.
Yeah, they will have a high enough NPI to get in at that point. Gettysburg will not have a high enough NPI to get in, and Worcester will likely be the last team out potentially
Yeah.
behind St. John Fisher, unless St. John Fisher loses in their conference
Loses to
tournament.
Sage.
This is also considering that there would be basically no bubble bursters, which I'm not confident about actually. Ramapo will be in the NCAA tournament, Gettysburg will not, and Worcester will be on the outside looking in, as I'm sure there's got to be at least one bubble burster somewhere in the
Yeah.
nation. I'd be incredibly shocked if we didn't get one this year.
The one that I'm thinking is probably most is in the Mac Freedom with the Sal's. And then the two teams that are also in the first four out are Stevens and Misericordia are 54 and 55. You got Barry Center also in the mix. Alma sleeper bubble burster at 60, but they would probably move in at that point.
Yeah.
This is a yeah. I wanted to throw you a massive curveball.
You definitely did. You threw me a 12-6 curve.
Yeah,
This is Just to recap, my prediction is that Ramapo will sweep Gettysburg and make the NCAA tournament, while Gettysburg and Worcester will be on the outside looking in just barely. So we'll see how that plays out next week. Next week we got some interesting things going on. We will record after the last game that will decide the last automatic qualifier gets in, because we
yep.
should have a pretty good idea of
And
who is getting in. But we'll have our mock brackets, or maybe we'll make one on the spot. Who knows?
yeah, draft on the spot.
Yeah. Guess we'll wrap it up real quick. Thank you, Will, once again
Yeah, of
for
course. Thank you.
another exciting episode. We'll see how these challenges go out. I think we did much better than our first time around in coming up with
Yes.
these
Yes.
with a week to think about it. So tune in to see if Will wins the Cinco de Mayo challenge and I win the heads up who's in, who's out challenge.
Yep.
The battle for Gettysburg getting into the NCAA tournament.
That battle for Gettysburg and Worcester not in the conference tournament do they make it in?
Right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. We'll record, we'll post something hopefully before the selection show happens. I'll try
Yeah.
my best to get that out.
Get ready. Always a pleasure, man. I'll catch you later.
Yep. Till next time, everybody.